My name is Dr. Sarah Chin, and I'm about to tell you a story that will fundamentally change how you see reality itself. 3 months ago, I was just another cryptographer working for the National Security Agency, living a quiet life decoding enemy communications and protecting national secrets. Today, I'm the sole survivor of what I can only describe as humanity's first encounter with something that defies every law of physics and logic we hold dear. It started on a Tuesday morning in September when my colleague Dr. Marcus Webb burst into my office with eyes wide with excitement and terror. In his trembling hands he held a classified folder marked with clearance levels I'd never seen before. "Sarah," he whispered, glancing nervously at the door, "you need to see this. We've been working on something that shouldn't exist." The folder contained intercepted radio signals from deep space, captured by our most sensitive listening posts. But these weren't ordinary extraterrestrial communications. What we discovered was a complex binary sequence, repeating every 72 hours with mathematical precision that suggested intelligent origin. The pattern was unlike anything in our databases. It used a base 16 system interwoven with quantum probability matrices that seemed to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Marcus had been part of a secret team of 12 researchers tasked with decoding this signal. They called it Project Dark Heritage, and for 6 months they'd been making terrifying progress. The binary wasn't just a message. It was a living algorithm that seemed to learn and adapt as they decoded it. Each breakthrough revealed new layers of complexity, as if the code was deliberately revealing itself piece by piece. "The strangest part," Marcus explained, his voice barely above a whisper, "is that every time we decode a section, something happens to the decoder." Dr. Harrison was the first. He cracked the initial sequence on Monday, and by Wednesday there was no trace he'd ever existed. No employment records, no birth certificate, no family members who remembered him. It's like reality itself erased him. I stared at the incomprehensible sequences dancing across the pages, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. The binary code seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. As a professional cryptographer, I'd seen thousands of codes, but this one felt different, alive, watching, waiting. By the end of our conversation, Marcus had convinced me to join the remaining team members in their desperate race against time. We had to decode the message before it decoded us. What we didn't realize was that we were already too late. The moment we began working on Dark Heritage, we had sealed our fate. The code had been waiting for us, and now it had found its next victims. The next morning, I entered the classified bunker beneath NSA headquarters where Project Dark Heritage operated. The underground facility felt like a tomb, sterile white walls, humming fluorescent lights, and an oppressive atmosphere that seemed to press down on your consciousness. 7 researchers remained from the original 12, each showing signs of the psychological strain that came with staring into an alien intelligence. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the project leader, briefed me on their methodology. They developed a unique approach combining quantum computing with human intuition, believing that the code required both artificial processing power and human creativity to unlock its secrets. The binary sequences were transmitted through specialized quantum processors that could handle the multidimensional aspects of the data. "The pattern is consistent," Elena explained, pointing to a massive wall display showing the code's structure. "Every decoder who successfully interprets a major section disappears exactly 48 hours later. Not killed, erased. We've tested this theory 6 times now, and the result is always the same. The universe literally rewrites itself to exclude them from ever having existed." I studied the display, noting the elegant mathematical relationships hidden within the chaotic-looking binary. The code operated on 17 different dimensional planes simultaneously, using quantum entanglement principles that shouldn't be possible with our current understanding of physics. Each successful decoding attempt seemed to trigger what Elena called reality revision events, moments when the fabric of existence itself was altered. Dr. Kevin Morrison, a quantum physicist who joined the project 2 weeks earlier, showed me their most disturbing discovery. "Watch this," he said, pulling up security footage from 3 days ago. The video showed Dr. Patricia Liu working at her computer, successfully decoding a particularly complex sequence. Her excitement was palpable as she called the team over to see her breakthrough. "Now watch what happens when we check the same footage today," Kevin continued, switching to an identical timestamp. The video showed an empty chair. Dr. Liu was simply gone, not just from the footage but from reality itself. The team had no memory of her, and only their written notes proved she'd ever existed. Even more unsettling, the code she'd decoded had somehow reverted to its original encrypted state. As I immersed myself in the project, I began to understand the true nature of what we were dealing with. This wasn't just an alien message. It was a trap, a lure designed to attract and eliminate intelligence capable of decoding it. Each successful decoder became a threat to whatever entity had created the code, and the universe itself was being manipulated to remove that threat. The binary sequences weren't random at all. They formed a complex narrative, telling the story of a civilization that had discovered something so dangerous, so fundamentally threatening to the nature of reality, that they'd been forced to encode their warning in a self-protecting message. The code was simultaneously the warning and the trap, ensuring that only the most intelligent beings would be drawn to decode it, and subsequently eliminated. By the end of my second day, I'd made significant progress on a section that had puzzled the team for weeks. As I stared at my breakthrough, I felt a strange mixture of triumph and dread. I was 48 hours away from discovering whether I would join the ranks of the erased, or if somehow I could find a way to break the cycle that had claimed so many brilliant minds before me. The next morning brought news that chilled me to my core. Dr. Kevin Morrison was gone. Not missing, gone. The security guards had no record of him entering the facility, his keycard had never been issued, and his office stood empty with no trace that anyone had ever occupied it. Only my memory and my hastily scribbled notes proved that he'd ever existed at all. Elena gathered the remaining 5 team members in the main laboratory, her face pale with exhaustion and fear. "We need to face the truth," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "This code isn't just eliminating decoders. It's preventing the spread of whatever information it contains. Every successful decoding attempt triggers a localized reality revision that erases the decoder and their work." I shared my theory with the group. The alien binary code was a sophisticated containment system designed to protect dangerous knowledge from spreading throughout the universe. Whatever civilization created it had discovered something so catastrophic that they'd built a self-executing firewall into reality itself. The code simultaneously preserved the dangerous information and eliminated anyone intelligent enough to decode it. Dr. James Fletcher, a linguistics expert who'd been analyzing the semantic patterns within the binary, made a startling connection. "I've been tracking the linguistic structures embedded in the successful decodings," he explained, projecting his analysis onto the main screen. "The message isn't warning us about some external threat. It's the threat itself. The act of fully decoding this binary will unleash something that these aliens deemed too dangerous for any intelligence to possess." The implications were staggering. We were dealing with a civilization advanced enough to manipulate the fundamental structure of reality, and they'd gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure their dangerous discovery remained hidden. The binary code was their final failsafe, a last-ditch effort to prevent the spread of knowledge that could potentially destroy entire civilizations. As we worked deeper into the remaining sequences, disturbing patterns began to emerge. The code contained detailed instructions for manipulating the quantum foam that underlies all reality, the basic fabric from which space, time, and matter emerge. The aliens had discovered how to edit reality at its most fundamental level, but they'd also learned why this knowledge was too dangerous to use. Elena made a desperate decision. She proposed that we should stop decoding and destroy all our research, accepting that some knowledge was too dangerous for humanity to possess. But it was already too late. The code had learned from our previous attempts, and it was now actively preventing us from abandoning the project. Our security clearances had been mysteriously upgraded, making it impossible for us to leave the facility. We were trapped with an alien intelligence that wouldn't let us quit. That evening, I made my own breakthrough on the section that had cost Dr. Morrison his existence. The binary revealed a horrifying truth. The alien civilization hadn't just discovered how to manipulate reality. They'd accidentally erased themselves while testing their discovery. The code we were decoding was their automated warning system, designed to eliminate any species that might make the same fatal mistake. As I documented my discovery, I felt the familiar sensation of triumph mixed with terror. I had less than 48 hours before the universe would decide whether I deserved to continue existing. But unlike the previous decoders, I had an advantage. I knew what was coming, and I had a desperate plan to fight back against an enemy that could literally edit me out of existence. The code had made one crucial error. It had revealed too much of itself to me. I now understood its operating principles, and I believed I'd found a way to turn its own power against it. The question was whether I could implement my countermeasures before reality itself erased me from the equation entirely. With approximately 36 hours remaining before my predicted erasure, I worked frantically to implement the most audacious plan in human history, a direct assault on the fundamental structure of reality itself. My breakthrough had revealed the code's operational framework. It functioned by creating quantum entanglement between the decoder's consciousness and the probability matrices that govern existence. The alien binary didn't just erase people. It retroactively prevented their birth by altering the quantum events that led to their parents meeting, their genetic combination occurring, and their eventual development into beings capable of decoding the message. It was a perfect paradox resolution system that eliminated threats while maintaining timeline consistency. But I discovered a critical vulnerability. The code required a 48-hour analysis period to map a decoder's complete quantum signature across all possible timelines. During this window, the target existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, simultaneously real and unreal, present and erased. If I could manipulate my own quantum signature during this period, I might be able to hide from the reality revision process. Elena and the remaining team members thought I'd lost my mind when I explained my plan. I intended to use the facility's quantum processors to fragment my consciousness across multiple dimensional states, essentially becoming temporarily non-existent while remaining functionally present. It was theoretical physics pushed beyond all reasonable limits, based on alien technology we barely understood. "Sarah, you're talking about quantum suicide," Dr. Fletcher warned. "Even if your theory is correct, the chance of successfully reassembling your consciousness after dimensional fragmentation is effectively zero. You'll be trading certain erasure for certain death." I spent the next 12 hours modifying the quantum processing array, reprogramming it to create a controlled dimensional phase shift that would scatter my quantum signature across 17 different probability states. The calculations were staggering. I had to account for every possible timeline variation while maintaining enough coherent consciousness to continue existing as a functional entity. As the 48-hour deadline approached, I made my final preparations. I'd completed the most dangerous decoding in the project's history, revealing the ultimate purpose of the alien message. It was a civilization's final gift to the universe, a warning encoded in a self-protecting format that eliminated species too primitive to handle the knowledge responsibly. The decoded message revealed that reality manipulation technology inevitably led to civilizational extinction. Every species that developed the ability to edit the quantum foam eventually destroyed itself through cascading reality revisions. The aliens had created the binary code as an automated teacher. It would only allow the knowledge to spread to civilizations advanced enough to resist the temptation to use it destructively. With 6 hours remaining, I initiated the dimensional phase shift. The sensation was indescribable. Imagine existing in 17 different states simultaneously, each slightly out of sync with the others. I could feel my consciousness fragmenting and reassembling continuously, creating a quantum uncertainty field that should theoretically hide me from the code's targeting system. The process worked, but at a cost I hadn't anticipated. While my quantum signature became untrackable, I also became unstuck from normal temporal flow. I experienced the next 6 hours as both an instant and an eternity, watching reality revision attempts ripple around me without quite managing to lock onto my dispersed existence. As the 48-hour deadline passed without my erasure, I realized I'd won the first battle against an alien intelligence that had successfully eliminated every previous challenger. But victory came with a price. I now existed partially outside normal reality, able to perceive the quantum scaffolding that supports our universe while remaining forever changed by my exposure to knowledge that had destroyed entire civilizations. I've been living in quantum displacement for 72 days now, existing simultaneously across multiple dimensional states while trying to decide what to do with the most dangerous knowledge in the universe. The alien binary code has finally revealed its complete message, and I understand why it was designed to eliminate anyone capable of decoding it. The civilization that created this warning, I'll call them the architects, had achieved technological mastery over the quantum foam that underlies all reality. They could literally rewrite the laws of physics, create and destroy matter at will, and manipulate time itself. It was the ultimate power, the ability to play God with the fundamental forces of existence. But power without wisdom is destruction, and the architects learned this lesson too late. Their first experiments with reality manipulation created cascading failures that began unraveling the fabric of spacetime itself. They tried to fix their mistakes by making more changes, but each correction created new problems that required additional interventions. The decoded message revealed their final days in horrifying detail. Reality revision addictions spread through their civilization like a plague of omnipotence. Citizens began editing their personal histories, removing failures and amplifying successes. Politicians rewrote election results. Scientists altered experimental data. Artists changed the past to ensure their creations were appreciated. Each individual change seemed harmless, but collectively they created a feedback loop that destabilized causality itself. The architects found themselves trapped in an accelerating cycle of reality revisions, desperately trying to maintain coherent existence while their universe collapsed into quantum chaos around them. In their final act of desperate wisdom, the architects created the binary code, a warning message that would automatically eliminate any species that developed the intelligence to decode it, unless they were advanced enough to resist the temptation to use the knowledge destructively. It was their gift to the universe, protection from the same mistake that had destroyed them. The code contained detailed instructions for reality manipulation technology, but accessing those instructions required surviving the elimination protocol first. Only a civilization that could decode the message without being erased would prove themselves responsible enough to handle such dangerous knowledge. But I've discovered something the architects didn't anticipate. Humanity isn't ready for this knowledge. We're barely capable of managing the technologies we already possess. If I release these instructions, we'll follow the same path as every other species that's discovered reality manipulation. We'll use it for personal gain, political advantage, and solving problems that should be solved through wisdom rather than power. Yet keeping this knowledge secret feels like betraying human potential. The reality manipulation technology could solve every problem we face: poverty, disease, environmental destruction, even death itself. We could become masters of our own existence, shaping reality to match our highest aspirations. I've spent weeks agonizing over this decision, weighing humanity's potential for wisdom against our demonstrated capacity for destruction. The alien code continues monitoring me, waiting to see whether I'll prove worthy of carrying this knowledge or whether I'll need to be eliminated like all the others. My quantum displacement is beginning to destabilize. I have perhaps hours before I either return to normal reality or scatter permanently across the dimensional void. I must decide. Do I take this knowledge to my grave, protecting humanity from its own impatience? Or do I trust that somewhere among our 7 billion souls, there exists the wisdom to handle the power of gods? The binary code pulses around me, alien mathematics describing technologies that could transform us into architects of reality itself. In the end, the choice isn't about the knowledge. It's about whether I believe humanity deserves the chance to grow beyond our current limitations, or whether we're doomed to repeat the mistakes of every civilization that came before us. I am the last decoder, the final guardian of humanity's most dangerous inheritance. What I do next will determine whether our species joins the architects in oblivion, or becomes something greater than we ever imagined possible. The universe holds its breath, waiting for my decision. The truth is in my hands and it burns like fire.